What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What is going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well today. I am, to the extent, most certainly doing well today. We got some great stuff to talk about in today's stream. It has been a little bit since our last stream. It's probably been about 2 weeks, so we are back to stream the New York Mets with what's going on with the offseason. We got quite a bit of things to talk about in today's stream. Everything from the winter meetings, we know that is starting, I believe, tomorrow in San Diego. All 30 MLB representatives, GMs will be meeting. So that's usually when, free agency, a lot of guys start to sign, a lot of offseason news starts to kick up. So we have that to deal with in regards to tomorrow. And then obviously we have the news with Jacob deGrom. We will be going over that. Some very unexpected news, something I really didn't even expect I mean, at least happened yesterday, this week, this month. So definitely very unexpected. So we're going to be going over that. And of course, all other Mets news. If you guys have any comments, any questions, any general stuff that you guys always have, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below and we'll get through these. Usually the off season, there's no games to recap. So usually I just do, Q&A style streams for 45 minutes to an hour. So yeah, we'll be doing that in here. We'll be on here probably for the next 45 minutes to an hour. So yeah, if you guys have any comments, any questions, it could be about the Mets, it could be about the Rangers, the Dodgers, the Padres, all things MLB related. Doesn't have to be the Mets. If you have any questions in the comment section below, don't hesitate, drop it below. But yeah, before we get started in today's stream, everyone, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss a stream or video. Tell your friends about this channel so we can get out there to more baseball viewers, I guess, of all 30 MLB teams, whatever. And yeah, obviously all of that great stuff. So yeah, do not hesitate. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop it in the comment section below so we can get out there to more baseball fans. So yeah, I guess let's stop, let's probably start the first little bit of this stream. We'll probably take 5, 6, 7 minutes right now, kind of just talking about Jacob deGrom. So obviously this was a really, really unexpected situation for the New York Mets. I think everyone... It's really even weird. I really wasn't even really prepared for this. Obviously, in case you're living under a rock, Jacob deGrom, as of yesterday, around 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, signed a deal with the Texas Rangers, and that deal is 5 years, $185 million. So that obviously translates to a $37 million AAV, which is an annual average value. Something that the Mets were a little hesitant on giving deGrom, obviously due to, the last couple of years he's been playing. We know deGrom, he's going into his age 34 season, who, like I said, has spent all 9 years of his Mets career with the New York Metropolitans. He opted out of the final 2 years. We know that he wasn't a free agent. He opted out of his contract to hit the free agent market. Obviously, he didn't throw much this inning, so kind of an interesting thing to talk about. And yeah, obviously that was really it for deGrom. There's really not much to talk about in terms of deGrom's performance. He's a pretty dominant ball player when he's on the field. And I guess that's kind of what makes a lot of people question right now. I mean, the Texas Rangers signed him, and it seems they really looked past all these issues and just looked for the potential for Jacob deGrom to be, more of a transformative figure for that for that elite future Texas Rangers lineup and, organization down the line. Obviously shattering industry-wide expectations with, instead of a short deal, a 5-year deal. Everyone was expecting him, maybe to sign 2-3 years, but he signed a 5-year package, which does include a 6-year player option to bring the total value to $222 million. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of in terms of the contract structure for deGrom. It's really a tough thing to talk about, obviously. I wasn't even prepared to talk about this. I think coming into this offseason, there was the possibility that Jacob deGrom would not stay. But really, I guess in terms of how he left, let me just adjust my glasses. It's more so in terms of how he left. A lot of people are saying, oh my God, Steve Cohen, Billy Epler, what the fuck? What are we doing? Pardon my French, but what's going on? And it comes to the point where that's the first thing I thought of. I said, oh my God, Texas Rangers signed him 5 years, 37 AAV. Bro, you could have easily done that. And then later do I find out the Mets didn't even have a chance to communicate with deGrom. And, I find it really weird. Does deGrom necessarily not want to be in New York anymore? Did he need a change of scenery? I really don't know. It comes to the point where, simply enough, deGrom didn't even really give the Mets a chance to, simply enough, no, I can't even say counter, or even counter. They never even really gave him a full chance. And I think that is very frustrating, considering that deGrom was, really a great player for this franchise. I don't want to say he was the face of the franchise, but he was definitely one of three guys on this past team that definitely could be defined as face of the franchise. And we all heard Steve Cohen, talk about, I hope we don't lose deGrom. One of my youngest childhood memories was when the Mets lost Seaver, and I was heartbroken. And, maybe Seaver was a little bit different. The Mets purposely got rid of him, where deGrom, it was more so him voluntarily, where the Mets were willing to bring back deGrom. I think they had no issue with bringing him back 2-3 years. I don't think anyone expected him to get a 5-year deal. That's what really shocked me. I don't think it's arbitrary. I think it's fair, but wasn't really expected. And I just think, like I said, it's just absolutely mind-boggling that Jacob deGrom didn't even want to communicate with the Mets. And I guess that's where it comes to be very upsetting. I do think it is very upsetting that deGrom simply enough didn't even get a chance to communicate with the Mets. Not even just simply enough say, hey, the Rangers are giving me this. And it came out of surprise. We know that the Rangers were, allegedly talking about deGrom, yada, yada, yada. But, then there were a couple reports a couple days ago, about 2 weeks ago, saying that the Rangers were less likely to get him, maybe go after a Rodon or a Senga. And then, boom, I'm out last night with my friends. I didn't even expect it. One of my friends texts me, and he's like, LOL, I'm sorry about deGrom. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I go to Instagram, boom, like 10 things. And I'm like, of course. So, yeah, it's interesting. It really is. I could sit on here and repeat myself and say a million different things all over again. But, unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles. It was deGrom's choice. It wasn't like the Mets purposely got rid of him. The Mets gave him the opportunity, and he just humbly didn't accept. And I think when it comes to the Texas Rangers, I don't like to trash talk a team, but 68 wins last year, something around those lines. How many games did they win? Congratulations. I can name a player on the Texas Rangers rotation. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing. That deGrom went to sign with the Rangers, and was it money motivated? Was it team motivated? I don't know. I don't really think it's team motivated. The Texas Rangers were complete dog crap last year. This was a team that went out and spent $500 million last offseason, $500 million on Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, for them to both have down years, slump, and finish fourth in their division, 68-94. Keep in mind, this AL West is a hard division. The Astros, they're not going anywhere. Astros won 106 games in 2022. They are a completely different stacked team. They added more guys like Abreu. That rotation is going to be phenomenal. That young prospect depth is going to be phenomenal. Astros are going to be the best team in baseball, in my opinion, in 2023. They could easily win 110 games, 115 games. You got the Seattle Mariners. This Texas Rangers team, there's just, I think they definitely do have the potential. I think this is a good move. I think in terms of, regardless of deGrom's health, I think it's a good move for the Rangers. Obviously, I don't think anyone could not say it's a good move. They have a they have a lot of good prospects. They have a nice young rotation. I think this is a Texas Rangers team that has the talent. Obviously, their farm system and Jung and Leiter Jr. I think those are decently fair guys in the mix. You have Martin Perez, obviously Jacob deGrom, John Gray, not horrible. You go to Jake Odorizzi, okay. And then, you have a couple young guys, Dane Dunning, Glenn Otto, Cole Ragan. So, honestly, not a horrible rotation. We'll see how things go there. You look at their lineup, simply enough, Jonah Heim, Nate Lau, Marcus Semien, Josh Jung, Brad Miller, Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia, Lourdes Torres, Mitch Garver. It's a team that, maybe if they were in the NL Central, the only team in the NL Central that I think is actually going to be really a good competitive team is the Cardinals, maybe the Brewers, but it's not like they're in a division where it's like there's not much challenge. You know, you're in the AL West. You got the Astros. You got the Mariners. Who knows? Maybe the Angels will actually be somewhat effective. Who knows? And then you got the A's, who are just the A's. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's simply enough that it's silly that you're 34 years old and you're going to be spending. I mean, you only have so many years left. I get it. deGrom is going to be pitching into his 40s probably. I mean, we all know that he didn't start pitching until his later years in college. So obviously he has less innings on his arm, less silly amateur mistakes, whatever. So he's going to be pitching much later in his life. But he's 34 years old. Texas Rangers, they're not competing this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. But we'll see. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting thing that unfolded. But yeah, I mean, obviously it sucks. It really does. What does this mean for the Mets? Well, it can mean a lot of things. I think this definitely could be a good and a bad. Simply enough, I could easily see this season going for deGrom. Pitches April, boom, he's out May, June, July, comes back in August, comes back September. I could easily see that, or I could easily see him pitching the full season looking good and winning Cy Young. It's hit or miss. The Rangers took a risk. The Mets took a risk. Regardless, the Mets took a risk in losing him. The Rangers took a risk in picking him up. Next year at this time, we'll have a decent answer on if this is going to be a good move so far. And I get it. There's 4, possibly 5 more years after this, but year 1 is going to be a big year. So we'll have to see how things pan out. I mean, in terms of the Mets, it's definitely an interesting move. Seeing a guy like him leave. In terms of that rotation, you do have Scherzer. You do have Carrasco still. Obviously, Peterson, McGill. Questionable if you're going to bring back Bassett, if you're going to bring back Walker. Are they going to go out and sign a Verlander, a Rodon, a Senga? Are they going to make a trade? We know that they've said that. The Mets so far right now have 2 guys in that rotation to fill. They have 2 spots. Obviously, I mean, right now you have Scherzer, you have Carrasco, and then you could probably say you have a McGill or Peterson as that, 3 or 4, whatever. So I mean, you have 2 guys really in that rotation. If you want to have like a 6-man depth type thing with McGill and Peterson, you have 2 guys you need to fill in that spot. So whether that's going to be a trade, we'll see. I mean, we're really gonna have to see what type of move it's gonna be. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting situation. It really is. We're just going to have to see how things pan out. But yeah, that aside, let's get into some of your guys' comments, questions, concerns, and all of that phenomenal stuff. So what is going on, everyone? Seth, Ibindos, Trey, Alex, Martin, Peter, Mark's here, Baseball Media, Chris, Kobe, Michael. What's going on? What's new in Metsland? What is not new in Metsland? That's for sure. Christopher, what's going on? He says, everyone is worried about pitching. Meanwhile, I'm all about the offense. Attack, attack, attack. Where's the bat? No, I agree with you. Absolutely. I think right now, looking at this team, you definitely want to continue to fix up this offensive lineup. I mean, you don't want to go into the season with pretty much the same offensive lineup. Obviously, yeah, I have no problem with re-signing the offensive pieces, but you're going to want to add a couple new guys to that mix. I definitely agree with you. And right now the Mets haven't really expressed much of an interest in that. In terms of their DH, they've kind of said they're going to stick with the internal route. So I definitely agree with you, Chris. I think it's going to come to the point where the Mets are absolutely going to need to talk about a big bat. And right now, I think it's kind of complex considering, and it really comes to more so the outfield, and an outfield bat is most likely what they're going to go after. And I mean, you have Judge, you have Nimmo, we know Brian Reynolds is going to be on the market. He's a decent on-base percentage contact guy. He could be a potential candidate down the line. You never know. So I agree with you. A nice big bat is going to be necessary. I'm not saying, they're going to have to sign, 3 outfielders like they did last year. No, that's not going to be the case. But I definitely agree. I think you're going to have to sign a relatively solid bat to this lineup. I definitely agree with you on that. Because, like I said, deGrom, Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, or not that, okay. Nimmo, stop saying Nimmo, Hayden. Okay. McNeil, Alonso, Lindor, Canna, Marte. It's a great lineup. It really is. I mean, right now, this lineup right now on December 3rd at 3:48 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, your lineup would consist of like McCann, Nito, Alvarez behind the plate, Alonso, McNeil, Lindor, Escobar, and then I guess you kind of have like an outfield mix right now of Canna, Marte, and someone else. That's a solid lineup. I have no problem bringing Nimmo back, but you're going to want to add another guy to that. You really are a nice, whether that's a DH or fourth outfielder, you're going to want to add another external option to really just boost it. I 100% agree with you. Kevin, what's going on? He says, don't do Mexican a draft pick for the gram. I'm not sure what you entirely mean by that. I'm assuming you're talking about a possible player. Yeah, just try saying that again. My apologies, man. Cal says a Verlander or Rodon signing would cheer me up. Please do something, F-Dog. Yeah, I mean, I think it would cheer most of us up for the most part. I think when it comes to it right now, yeah, I mean, I think when it overall comes to it right now, the Mets are definitely going to have to be making some moves soon. And, they most certainly will be making those moves soon. So, like I said, it happened last year. Things started off slow and then boom, you had the Black Friday sale. Boom, you had Scherzer. Boom, you had, the week before spring training. So, the Mets are going to make the moves. They are. I just think it's going to come to the point where you're going to have to be patient. It's not like last year where you had a week of, free agency and then spring training. You're going to have a ton of months. So, yeah. Sorry. LFGM, what's going on? Trey says, should the Mets stay external? Should Mets stay internal? My apologies. Should Mets stay internal at the DH? And I mean, yeah, that's an interesting that's an interesting take. I think it's going to come into question. The Mets said that they have a possible, and this is going to be a future video idea down the line, spoiler alert, but the Mets have said that they, are most likely going to keep the DH as an, internal guy. And right now your internal guys are Vogelbach. The Mets brought him back, so he is going to be most likely one internal guy. So that's one. So, is the other internal guys going to be someone like a Mark Vientos, a Francisco Alvarez? You kind of platoon Alvarez at, DH and catcher every now and then. You don't want him a catcher every day, but you definitely want Alvarez to keep up his defensive workload, but also, continue to work in his at-bat and not get so many off days. And, you need backup catchers always. So, like I said, that's just a lot of risk. And the DH position we saw last year did not go well for the Mets. Last year, I did a video, 3 guys that could be the New York Mets DH for 2022. All 3 of those guys are gone. Cano's gone, Davis is gone, and Don Smith is gone. We're in this year later, I'm in the same predicament. Who's the DH? Is it going to be Vogelbach? I get it. You're going to platoon the DH this year most likely. I don't think it's going to be one DH. I think you're going to have, a guy to go against lefties, a guy to go against righties. So you got Vogelbach for one, but you need a guy to go against the righties. So we'll see. I mean, you got your guy in Vogelbach, so that's a half of the DH. But are you going to have the trust in Vientos, in Beatty, in Alvarez to be that, rookie and DH guy? I mean, obviously, Vientos probably is the DH for the future down the line, but to put the workload on him and then an inconsistent Vogelbach, we'll see. Vogelbach's an interesting guy, I really will say, considering last season, came in for the Mets, was brought in at the deadline, and, he didn't do horrible, but he didn't do great. Definitely his ability, his, discipline at the plate looked really interesting. Obviously, for a big guy, big dude, power guy, you really think that he would have been, just swinging for the fences every time. But his on-base percentage was incredibly high. He was walking. He wasn't striking out a lot. He was taking a lot of pitches. And I guess that's more of the interesting thing for Vogelbach, is that he really changed up his approach. And like I said, he's not a leadoff guy, so I don't care for that. Right now, I want guys that are going to hit behind Alonso in the 5th spot for power. Because right now on this New York Mets team, you don't have much power. You have Alonso, maybe Lindor will give you 25, and that's really it. If Escobar can come in this season and be that guy that everyone projected, because everyone projected Escobar to be that number 5 guy behind Alonso and hit 25 or so home runs, maybe 30. He didn't even get close to that. Yeah, I mean, he ended on a good note, but still, are you still going to have, I guess, the trust in him? So, yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see when it comes to, I guess, how the Mets are going to tackle their, a power approach. I definitely think, the Mets are going to have to look into that. Are they going to trade for a DH? Probably not. Are they going to sign a DH? Maybe. But right now, it seems they're really just going to stick with the internal route. And I just don't know if that is going to be effective for them. I really don't. The DH hole was kind of a big spot to why this team had their fair share of issues in September. I mean, obviously, with Marte being gone, but, the DH definitely was a hole and definitely was the reason why the Mets stranded some guys in scoring position, lost some games, weren't able to drive in runs. And you can't have that this year. You absolutely cannot deal with the DH role again. That's going to be a concern. Get that out of the way. You could easily get it out of the way right now and then focus on your other concerns in the bullpen, the other two starting rotation. Don't worry about that. So, we're going to have to just wait, see, how the rest of these things go. Kobe says, will Tyler McGill and David Peterson be in the Mets, be in the rotation or bullpen? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, right now, now they're in the rotation considering the depth you have. But, obviously once you sign guys or put guys in the rotation, we'll see. As of right now, we're going to have to see how things go. Obviously, McGill had a rocky season last year with injuries and just wasn't really consistent because the injuries and stuff like that. Peterson honestly put together a pretty solid season, in my opinion. Definitely bailed out the Mets a lot when, guys like deGrom and whoever were injured. So definitely very impressive from David Peterson. Something he's really done since he was called up in 2020 is come into situations when, someone's injured, doubleheader, rain delay, whatever, and make that unexpected start. So, that's something that Peterson has thrived his whole career in. So, hopefully he can continue to do that. When it comes to Peterson, I think he could be a nice lefty in the bullpen. My only concern is the walks. That is something that the Mets are going to have to keep an eye on with Peterson is his command. And he's going to walk a lot of guys. And obviously as a bullpen pitcher, as a relief pitcher, there's less room for error when it comes to walking guys. In the rotation, okay, maybe you could try and get out of it because, you're pitching more innings. Bullpen, not so much. So, are the Mets, is that going to be a big reason to why Peterson stays in the rotation? We'll see. I think Peterson is definitely capable of, working with Hefner, working with the pitching coaches, and definitely changing up his approach. He's been doing it. I mean, all 3 years, his approaches look different each year. 2020, was try to pound the zone, the end of the back end quarter part of the strike zone, try and get some swinging and misses. Last year in 2021, he went for ground balls. 2022 kind of split it up. We'd see some outings where he'd have a dozen ground balls and 2 strikeouts, and then a couple outings where you have 6 strikeouts and 2 ground balls, or 10 strikeouts, 3 ground balls. So little stuff like that. So we're just going to have to wait and see, how things kind of pan out there with Peterson. McGill also, I definitely think he's shown some potential. Considering, they're young, they're technically kind of still rookies, if you want to say in some sense. It's not like they pitched a full, 5 months, 5-month season or whatever. So we'll see. I definitely would have no issue putting them in the rotation down the line, seeing how things go. Maybe use them as a 6-7 starter. Someone gets hurt. It's going to happen where they're going to be called in to start games. It's going to happen. I agree. Marco says, should the Mets go after Justin Verlander? Yeah, Justin Verlander is a guy that the Mets have said that he's going to be their number 1 target now. And, that definitely does make sense, considering that the Mets are going to want to have another nice veteran Cy Young caliber piece to that rotation. I guess just the only concern that's going to come into play for the Mets and, obviously fans and just any baseball team that tries to go after Justin Verlander is how much, money he wants. And I get it. Money isn't really a concern for the Mets, but when you're 39 years old going on 40 and you're going to want, 40 million, 41 million in terms of AAV, a contract a little bit more than deGrom and similar to Scherzer's. I said, money's not an issue. It's just the age. You're 39, you're going to be on 40, coming off of Tommy John. Is the injuries going to be a risk? It's a risky move, especially if it's 3-4 years, and he wants a relatively long contract. Not long, but mid. It's not 1-2 years. That's different. 3-4. We're getting into a different ball game here. So, I guess it's really going to come down to, are the Mets willing to take that risk? That's really what it's going to come down to. Are the Mets willing to take that risk? And simply enough, You didn't take it with deGrom. Are you going to take it with Verlander? I get it. Verlander is much older. He's a little bit of a different pitcher than deGrom. They're still great guys in my opinion. But, I mean, that's just something that we're going to have to just kind of keep an eye out and play by ear. Christopher says Texas is better than New York as a location, in my opinion, from weather, cost of living, economy, etc. Still, Mets over Rangers. Yeah, that is the one exception. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, I know was it the state income? Much better down there. So that was also a reason probably. Christopher says, anyways, sign a big bat, buy something, Steve. Yeah, Rich bleep bleep. It's supposed to be win now mode, not create a hole and fill it. And I agree with you. This team is definitely in a win now mode. And I agree with you. The Mets need to start being aggressive and they just need to get the things done that they need to get done. Simple, point blank simple. I mean, besides really Diaz and I guess the deGrom thing, there hasn't really been any crazy moves. I mean, you've had a couple minor trades and, like Renfroe and, Colton Wong, but, nothing too crazy, in terms of top tier free agent guys. We haven't seen like Trey Turner or, Correa or, any of those big guys sign yet. So, we're going to have to see how things kind of pan out when it comes to those guys in particular. I think it's going to be really, really interesting offseason down the line. Kobe is going to agree with you. Michael says, what area of concern should the Mets focus their offseason on? I mean, yeah, right now it's probably going to be pitching in the DH. I think trying to get two guys to fill those holes in the rotation, guys that are definitely dominant. Listen, I think even without deGrom, if you get like a Senga and Rodon, boom, you make up for it. You get a Verlander and Rodon, boom, you make up for it. As long as you sign two quality guys, I'm not saying they have to be Cy Young caliber players, but I think both of those guys that I named are, but still, if you could sign two guys like that, I think you easily kind of make up for it. Then obviously another DH, like I said, are you going to want to have trust in your young guys as a DH? So I think that's also going to be another part. Connor says, could David Peterson become the Mets' number 3 starter in 2023? Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll be the number 3 starter, but I think he could be a 5-6. Haley says, should the New York Mets bring Michael Conforto? Should the New York Mets bring back Michael Conforto in 2023? Sorry, I misread that. Yeah, that's also been another topic that's been discussed on this channel. I did a video on it. Yeah, I mean, right now the Mets and Conforto, Mets have said they'd have an interest in Conforto. I wouldn't be against it, honestly. But if so, I'd like you to bring back both Nimmo and Conforto. I don't want it to be you have to pick and choose one. If it is, it's probably Nimmo. If it's not, you bring back both. And Conforto could fill the whole, platoon DH, outfield. Obviously, defensively, he's great in the outfield, great defensively. So there's really no issue when it comes to that. I guess it's just like I said, more so his player performance, and I guess the contract. Is he going to take the hometown discount and go for that qualifying 1-2 year deal, $18 million, or is he going to want him and Boris to get the big bucks and try and go after this 6-7 year, 175, $200 million deal? I know the Mets going to be willing to give him that, probably not. So that's really what it's going to come down to, I think. Alex says, hey Hayden, thoughts on Joey Wentz? Yeah, that is a funny logo. I like it. Chick-fil-A. Alex says, hey, Hayden, thoughts on Joey Wentz for the Tigers in 2023? So, yeah, I'm going to have to Google this guy. Hold on. I know he's a prospect or was debuted with y'all. I think it's not going to work on my phone, so let me do it on here. I know he debuted with y'all last year. Small performance, but Joey Wentz. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, had a decent season. 2-2, 3.03 ERA, 7 games, 32 2/3 inning, 27 strikeouts, a 1.10 WHIP. Yeah, I mean, those are not horrible stats. I mean, not horrible. Nice strikeout to walk ratio. Pounds the zone pretty well. Let's look at his baseball savant. Let's see what he's up to. 25. So obviously young Tigers, typical rotation. I mean, that Tigers rotation is definitely young in terms of future talent, whether that's Casey Mize, Joey Wentz, Matt Manning, Bo Brisky. Yeah, I mean, nice spin rate on his fastball, nice cutter. That's a nice pitch mix. They say he's very similar. Heard he's very similar to Andrew Heaney. Obviously, he's both lefties, so they have a similar pitching arsenal in terms of release point, extension, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, he could definitely be a solid a solid rotation arm, for your Tigers in 2023. I mean, I don't really know what the rotation would look like right now. I mean, I know obviously there's projections of the Tigers rotation. I mean, obviously with Eduardo Rodriguez, Spencer Turnbull, Matt Manning, Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal. Obviously, Casey Mize is not going to start the season. Obviously, he is still going to be sidelined with Tommy John. But yeah, it doesn't look horrible. I mean, the rotation, it looks young. It has the potential depth. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know. Joey Wentz could be an interesting guy to look out for. Definitely, he can make a strong case for the rotation. I mean, let's see. If not, you mix him in the bullpen. Get him used to pitching. Like I said, I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez, Matt Manning, Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, not horrible. I mean, Mize and Skubal are still going to be rehabbing their injuries, so definitely can make a start and like a David Peterson role, I guess, if you want to, put it into Mets perspective. Timothy says, "Hey Hayden, will the Mets still sign Verlander, Senga, Rodon after losing deGrom?" Yeah, I definitely still think it is a possibility that they are gonna, try and go after all three of those guys. Definitely, when it comes to it. I mean, right now, like I said, if simply enough, if you can go out and get a Verlander and a Rodon, boom, I simply enough think you definitely do make up for kind of what would go wrong allegedly if you didn't. So yeah, we'll see. Cal says Reynolds, that would be a nice piece for the puzzle. Yeah, Brian Reynolds, we saw that. Yeah, we saw that he will probably be requesting a trade via Pirates. So it comes down to, the Mets going to be willing to trade. I mean, obviously, I don't think you would have to necessarily move a lot when it comes to him. Obviously, this would probably be more so if you're not going to bring back Nimmo. Obviously, he's an outfielder, center fielder, potential platoon DH type guy. So you could potentially look into a possibility with something like that. Yeah, I don't know if Brian Reynolds is honestly a necessarily. I think he could be a decent pick for the Mets. I mean, let's do some more research on him. Pirates have a young, good squad. Kind of unfortunate that they would lose Reynolds, considering he's 27, has some good years of control left. He didn't have the best year this season. Obviously, 2021, he had a phenomenal. Not a phenomenal, but definitely a good all-star caliber season. So, I mean, obviously taking a little look and looking at Brian Reynolds, he's great contact guy, base hits, hit, 91st percentile in average exit velocity, strikes out a little bit relatively barren, but, gets some, 50th percentile in barrels. I mean, a lot of these 2022 percentile rankings you have to take with a grain of salt, but nice lefty bat. To say for the least, nice lefty bat, or actually I think he's a switch hitter. So he's a switch hitter. So still nice to have a lefty bat, but a switch hitter is definitely something that is valuable for any team. Hits the ball hard. I mean, hard hit percentage, expected slugging, average exit velocity, max exit velocity. It's all there. Walks a pretty good, decent amount. Chases a lot. The strikeouts and chase rate is there a little bit. So that's kind of, I guess, going to be one flaw. Defensively, he's not horrible. He has a good arm. He's fast, 75th percentile in sprint speed. So you can get some speed, some stolen bases on the bases from him. Maybe he could, definitely make some great plays in the outfield with the speed. So, Reynolds could be a nice guy, spreads the ball in terms of singles. And he's a switch hitter. So, I mean, it's not really like you have to go the opposite way. He could, but, he's a switch hitter. So, yeah, I mean, Baseball teams are going to just have to pan out and see, they're going to want to go after a guy like Brian Reynolds. Obviously, the Mets, if you are going to re-sign Nimmo, then there's really not much of a need for them to go after a guy like Brian Reynolds. But in this scenario, I guess you don't, and the Mets are going to want to make a trade rather than touch the free agent market, then yeah. And obviously, I mean, this changes everything, because considering on the market right now, the center field, more so outfield free agency, you have Judge, you have Nimmo, but then that, then the tiers kind of really take a big drop. So I think Reynolds opening up is definitely going to be big for a lot of these teams that are looking for outfield arms. Maybe a team like the Yankees. I mean, hey, even if the Yankees do keep Judge, I mean, Judge isn't a center fielder, so it doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, be a possibility there. LFGM. Peter says, could signing Kodai Senga be the key to the Mets offseason? Yeah, I definitely think it could be a little underrated, sneaky kind of pick type thing. Obviously, I heard he has this like weird fork ball. The movement on his pitches are very unique, very weird. But yeah, I definitely think Senga could be a nice little addition to this Mets team if added. Get him on a cheap deal. Obviously, he's coming from the NPB, so it's not MLB. So that definitely gives him a little bit more leverage to sign him more so cheap, because he's never played in Major League Baseball. So yeah, I think that could be a little interesting thing there for them down the line. When are the winter meetings? So the winter meetings, I believe, start tomorrow, Sunday in San Diego. So yeah, that'll be pretty fun. Yeah, the Chick-fil-A profile is funny. Kobe says, I'm hoping the Mets bring back Conforto to a cheap and short-term deal. Yeah, I mean, that's what it would be. I mean, I don't think the Mets are going to be willing to bring back Conforto to this 5, 4, 6-year deal. I don't picture them doing that whatsoever. Christopher says also, Bud Light Limes are 14 at Citi Field. Now deGrom is gone, trying times. Thank goodness I pregame. Do the Mexican draft pick. So let's see what the Mexican draft pick is, because I'm kind of clueless. I have no idea. I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm not too familiar with what that is. Kobe says, Conforto as DH platoon if we are going that route again. And that's what it probably would be, considering, nice lefty bat. You still want him in the outfield with his great defense, but that could honestly be a decent thing if you do bring back in the scenario a Nimmo and Conforto or whoever else, and you do bring in Conforto into the picture. Definitely a DH opportunity is there. Do the Mets get a draft pick? Yes. So for deGrom, you would. Lucas says, I would personally push to sign Rodon and Senga together, which would combine to equal the AAV deGrom would cost at his highest end. Yeah, no, I agree, obviously. I mean, considering, would you rather get one deGrom or a Senga and a Rodon? So, I mean, interesting thing to what it boils down to. I agree with you. I mean, Rodon, simply enough, is probably going to get his highest AAV since, in his career. Considering, he only signed a 2-year deal, which was on a cheap AAV with San Francisco. It was due to, his past injuries. Now he's kind of proven himself that he's been healthy. He's been able to stay on the field, something that has really been a lot of teams' concerns for Rodon, but not really anymore. Senga, he's going to be cheap, like I said. So both of those guys together, honestly, isn't horrible. I know the Mets' concern isn't really money. No one really cares about the luxury tax with the Mets, but, it's just something to mention. Matthew says, did you see the Mets are making a new jumbo board? I did see that. Seth says, would y'all rather Conforto or Bellinger? Not as a replacement for Nimmo, but as a fourth outfielder when either Marte or Nimmo inevitably get injured. Yeah, I mean, right now I probably would say probably it's tough. I mean, right now we discussed Cody Bellinger last stream. And when it comes to Bellinger, this dude has just completely evaporated the earth. He's not him. He's not his old self. He hasn't been himself since 2019. People took 2020 with a grain of salt, as stated. COVID year, whatever. People didn't charge him for it. But now it comes to the point where it's he wasn't himself in 2021. He wasn't himself in 2022, and he just has not really been a MVP or any really hope of it. It's not like he had a good month or good couple stretches. He's just been overall really inconsistent. I mean, that long swing and then he had that elbow surgery. It's just kind of been to the death of him. And I think that's been a unfortunate part to Bellinger's performance right now. Yeah, I really don't know what the future holds for Cody Bellinger. I mean, it comes to the point where the Dodgers were just like throwing him at first, throwing him in the outfield, coming to the point where they were benching him and he was batting, lower in the lineup. His power was down. His chase rate went up. Wasn't really selective at, selective in the batter's box. Like I said, that long swing, he was getting so many fly balls, mile high that were caught, in the infield or shallow center, shallow right field. And it sucks. He's a lefty bat, so a lot of teams could value that. But yeah. And then Conforto, obviously, we went all over the Conforto thing. So when it comes to it, I probably would go Bellinger, just because I think he obviously is a little bit younger than Conforto and at least has the potential on his resume. And it's a fourth outfielder, obviously. So Michael, what's going on? He says, we played last year with no deGrom almost all year. We won 5 games. And he only won 5 games, and the team won 101. And that's a really good point that you bring up there, Michael. And that's something that completely kind of slipped off of my mind. That's a good point. The Mets haven't really pitched deGrom every 5 days for 75% of the season, not even a quarter of the season since 2019. 2020, he wasn't even really in the picture much. 2021, he was in the first half. Second half, okay, maybe you could say that was the reason to their downfall, the domino. But last year, when you actually have a solid lineup, a solid resume of a rotation staff, he wasn't really needed. McGill was coming, or David Peterson was coming into, some of his outings. Won 9 games for him. deGrom only really pitched what? 1/4 of a season? He came back for a little bit of August and September. Otherwise, he wasn't really in the picture. So I agree with you completely on that. I think that's interesting when a lot of people do bring that up, and that is something that is really, that's a good point. That is. He only goes out there for 5 days. So Alex says something we don't talk about enough is Nimmo is familiar with Citi Field dimensions. With Citi Field dimensions, unlike any outfielder on the market right now, knowing how far and how those walls go is a vital asset for that position. And that is why he's been able to make such great plays. Yeah, I mean, defensively, he's really improved. I mean, Nimmo went from being one of the worst defensive players in the league to arguably one of the best now, and is going to be able to win a Gold Glove probably in a couple of years from right now. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to it right now, like I said, I agree with 100% on that. And like I said, Nimmo's really changed his approach. Obviously, he's playing more back on the warning track. So obviously, yeah, he's gonna be able to make all these phenomenal robbing home run catches at the walls because he's playing on the warning track. I do get worried, if a ball comes in shallow center, he's injury prone with his neck. If he slides, that's a disaster right there. But yeah, like I said, I agree with you on that, Alex. He definitely defensively has been much more cognizant of his surroundings, his ability on where to play, where to position himself. I definitely do agree with you on that 100%. He's definitely gotten much, much better with where he positions himself. From being a guy who, had a hard time positioning where to stand and tracking, a routine ball, just slide and make an amateur play. And he's definitely gotten much, much better, as you could say, really, over the last couple months, probably I'd say the last, 16 months or so. Kobe agrees with you. Chris says, so it brings it back to the offense. We shut down with pitching, but we lose with like a score 3-2. And Christopher, and I understand you're worried with the offense. I think a lot of people to the extent are too, but you have to realize, I mean, right now, I think the biggest thing the Mets are going to go after is a power bat. Right now, like I said, you have Alonso, you have McNeil, you have Lindor, you have Marte, you have Canna. That's a good lineup. You're going to want to add more to that, though. Could one of the younglings, in a Vientos, in an Alvarez, in a Beatty, could they bring something? Could Vogelbach have a big bounce back? Could Escobar really have the projections that we saw in him in being a great 30 home run type hitter? Hopefully Nimmo comes back. You do hope, and we do hope that they do sign a nice bat. That is the goal, is that they sign a nice, number 5 type bat in that lineup. Nice power bat. That's what you're going to hope to see. Sorry, I have bad allergies, guys. Trace is not going to lie, but Evaldi could be a decent pickup. Maybe he'd be a Trevor Williams 2.0. I agree with you. I actually did do a video where I did mention Nathan Evaldi, so definitely check that one out. It was pitchers that the New York Mets should go after this offseason, and Evaldi was on there. Yeah, he's definitely a decent, long relief guy. Could go 4 or 5 innings. So, yeah, I agree with you. He definitely could be a Williams 2.0. I would like the Mets to bring back Trevor Williams, though. I think that could be a nice little move. But in the scenario you don't, for whatever reason, then you do have Trevor. Then you do have other guys on the market, like an Evaldi or somebody else. What pitcher should the New York Mets target? Yeah, I mean, just to throw a couple names out there. I mean, obviously Verlander, Rodon, Senga, some other ones. Couple guys that people are maybe not talking about is like a Jameson Taillon, a Nathan Evaldi. Obviously, there's some guys like Sean Manaea. He's actually been never discussed. And then, obviously you do have some possibilities for trades, some call-ups. So Mets will definitely fix the pitching. Sports fan says Verlander is 100% the correct play. First, he won't cost us any draft picks. Good point. Payroll budget is a bigger deal than anyone. While Rodon will be a better long-term solution, Verlander on a 2-year deal provides just the 1-year overlap with Max. No, absolutely. I definitely agree with you 100% on that. And I think when it comes to it right now, would you want to get – I mean, I don't see a reason why you can't get both. Obviously, you can get Verlander for that short term, 2-3 years or even 1. We'll see how things go with Verlander. And then you can still get Rodon, when it comes to, 4, 5, 6 years. Being honest, I don't know if Rodon's going to sign a long deal. I mean, I can easily see Rodon signing 3, 4 years, maybe 2 or 1 less than Verlander. So you could honestly get him on a smaller package with a, 5-10 off AAV together. So, we'll see how things go there. I think that's going to be interesting. Christopher says, great stream. Always appreciate the effort you put into the stream. No matter what happens, I'm grateful to be with all you. Oh, absolutely. I know this has definitely been since starting this channel. It's definitely been very chaotic with the Mets, 100%. But no, yeah, it's always great to come on here and talk baseball with you guys. So I definitely definitely appreciate the kind words, Christopher. I know you've been a supporter of the channel for quite some time now. I'd say probably a little bit over a year, maybe 2. So I definitely appreciate the kind words. LFGM Kobe says 100%, man. Gregory says, will the Mets make big moves in the bullpen market? Mets need Chafin and Ottavino. Yeah, no, I agree. The bullpen is another thing they have to explore, considering the Mets and a lot of Mets fans have neglected on even thinking about the bullpen. And when it comes to it, all you have right now is what? Edwin Diaz and Drew Smith. And that's really it in terms of, I guess, the big relievers that people care about. So you have Seth Lugo, you have Trevor Williams, Trevor May, Adam Ottavino. You have all these guys. And like I said, in terms of, the bullpen, who stays, who goes, I did do a video on that. So definitely do check that out. It's called In Mets Internal Free Agents. But yeah, I mean, right now, I think Lugo and Ottavino are kind of like the 2 that people would possibly like to see return. I think Ottavino definitely is one. Like I said, when it comes to bullpen arms, relievers are very streaky. So, it's kind of got to play it by ear. But the bullpen is definitely going to have to be a position that the Mets are going to have to go after, considering not really much thought has gone into it. So, how are the Mets going to want to address this? They're going to have to, do something pretty soon with that bullpen. Trey says Mets have to run the table on free agent to sign Rodon, Senga, and Nimmo. Pitching has to be the priority. I agree. Verlander would be awesome, but not on. Verlander would be awesome, but not a path to sustain winning. Sign everyone. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, Yeah, Mets are gonna have to make those moves. I mean, I feel I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I agree with you guys. So yeah, so if you guys have any more comments, any more questions, anything related to the Mets, the offseason, don't hesitate. Feel free to drop it below. We are at the 50-minute mark. I like to keep these streams in between 45 minutes to maybe an hour, a little bit over. So we'll probably get into a couple more comments, and everyone, I'll get off with the rest of my day along with everyone else, and hopefully we'll pray some news could break pretty soon. If that does, I'll definitely try and pump out some content. But yeah, obviously the Mets have, Mets are definitely in an interesting spot. Winter meetings are coming up, so this weekend. So, usually we see when the winter meetings happen, usually all this free agent stuff goes around. So, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, keep an eye out. You're going to start to see a lot of guys sign, a lot of guys moving. You're going to see it once the winter meetings happens. That's usually a great time. So yeah, we'll see how things go there. Christopher says, "Oh, just to be in the same room with the big wigs for a few hours, I'll talk sense into them without worried about being fired." But yeah, like I said, winter meetings is coming up, so that's going to be really big. Like I said, we'll probably see some guys possibly sign then. So yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. So yeah, we're probably going to call it a stream here. I really do appreciate you guys for tuning into today's stream. As always, it's been a phenomenal stream. I always love when you guys tune in. It's been great. Really want to appreciate everyone for chiming into today's stream. It's been a great stream. As always, obviously, in today's stream, we did go over the news with Jacob deGrom signing with the Texas Rangers, going over a little bit of the Mets farm system report, Mets news, free agency, and a lot of great other stuff. Obviously, I do want to appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream. Seth, Ibindos, Trey, Alex, Martin, Peter, Marks, Baseball Media, Christopher, Kobe, Michael, Kevin, Cal, Eric, Paul, Marco, Connor, Michael, Haley, Alex, Tim. If I didn't say your name, I'm sorry. Lucas, Matthew, Michael. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everyone. So, yeah, I definitely do appreciate everyone for tuning into the stream. As always, it's been a great stream. If you are rewatching this on replay, definitely please feel free to smash that like button. Let me know your thoughts, general comments in the comment section below to anything we discussed or just whatever in general. Yeah, otherwise, I really do appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream as always and the nonstop support. Please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel. And yeah, we got some great stuff going on in the future. LFGM, let's freaking go Mets. We got some excited week in baseball, winter meetings, all that great stuff coming up. We'll have some more coverage on here on Mets Talk with Hayden soon. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.